Good afternoon. My name is Bill Kirkland. I'm a Master Gardener volunteer with the Currituck North Carolina Master Gardener program. Today we're going to be talking about sharpening your garden tools, or just a few of them, and the types of edges and the tools you will be using to get those edges. There's two types of edges mainly you'll find on your garden implements. You have a double bevel and you have a single bevel. The majority of your tools, like shovels, hoes, your bypass pruners, like these, just regular pruners, and your common hoe that you use on a daily basis, all those have what's called a chisel edge or a single bevel. So we're going to concentrate on the single bevel first. Later we'll talk about the double bevels. The other thing I want to talk about is the exception to the single bevel rule when it comes to your pruners. There is a type of pruner. Here's a handheld set made by Gerber, and it actually is a double bevel that goes between a pair of soft metal teeth. And you also have the larger style. And you'll see that mainly these are older style, because the other style with the flat edge is much better for cutting. These here work in a pinch. These would be for like more of a woody type cutting, where the other pruners you could use on just about anything. All right, when you're working with anything like this, one thing you want to make sure your desk is clean. A vise is preferred, because you can lock your stuff into where it's not moving, because you are sharpening something it could potentially cut you. You want to get a good pair of gloves, leather gloves preferably, because if you do slip, you definitely you'd have a lesser cut if you do slip. One thing to remember too, when you're doing this, is get all the dirt and the grit and all off this, so you don't mess up the tools that you're using. You want to work away from yourself when you're doing this, if at all possible. So for this one, I could start here, and it's just, I'm not going to sharpen the whole thing, but you can see it's just a nice flow. You don't really have to herk into it. Just let the file do the work. And what we're going for about a 30-degree edge. Most of your knives are 5 to 25-degree edges, depending on the type blade. But most of your garden tools are between 30 and 40, and 30 is probably the easier edge to get. The best way to determine a 30-degree edge, which is the optimum edge for most of your garden tools, is think of an L, and you divide it 3 parts. And one part of that gives you your 30-degree edge. So approximately that would be my 30-degree edge that I'm looking for. Anything more is too, if you have it too high, it's too thick of an edge, and you don't want it much thinner, because it'll be more prone to bending or breaking edge. So if you had a hoe, which we do, if you have a hoe, you're going to cut the top edge. That's where your bevel is going to be. The reason being, if you cut the bottom edge, when you're using the hoe, when you're coming down, you would be coming down on the unsharpened side first, so it's going to limit your cutting ability. Now, believe it or not, a lot of the tools that you buy in Lowe's and Home Depot and all these places, you'll find that a lot of them are sharpened on the wrong side. So, something to think about. When do you want to sharpen your tools? You don't have to sharpen them all the time. What you want to look for is you want to have a nice edge. It doesn't have to be pristine. It doesn't have to be razor sharp, because you're digging in the dirt. But you want to keep it free of nicks and burrs and stuff like that can hang up. And that's what we're looking for here. As you can see, I've got a little bit of a shovel. Now this shovel is a little different too, because as you can see, it has almost a little waffle pattern here, which helps cutting. So this is just a little bit different from your standard. And then from this side, I can actually come from here and go this way. Or I could turn my entire vise. Oops. I could turn my vise further away from me and cut this way. But like I say, always cut away. Clean your tools in between. You're going to do a little bit. If you notice it's not cutting anymore, take a wire brush and clean it out. Or if you have a file tool, which has a little set of teeth and a little brush on the side, you want to use that to clean those up. Now, when you get this edge where you want it, which is pretty much just silver, 30 degree, you don't want it super sharp. It has you just want a nice edge on it. The one thing to remember is once you get that edge where you want it, on the back side, as flat as you can possibly get it, you just want to come along on both sides, nice and flat, and that just takes off any burrs that you might have made or rolled over when you did this. So now you've got a nice smooth cutting edge. And that's on these or the hose, for that matter. Let's get this. I brought this one out. This is more of an edging tool, but it gives you a better look at what a hoe edge should look like. Put my gloves back on. And I think I might not have mentioned, you should have eye protection. You're not going crazy, but you could have a little burr or a splitter pop off, and you don't want to get that in your eye. But from this point, same thing. It's a nice... You don't have to go crazy. You can see how it's cleaning it up a little bit. And then on this one, just like on the shovel, on the back side, as flat as I can get it, just to take off any burrs. Now, if we want to keep this edge, what we want to do is put a little bit of lubricant on it, any kind of spray oil, spray lube, motor oil, any kind of oil, just to put, because now you have an edge on here that is bare metal. And another thing I like to do with all my tools is I just put a light coat of spray paint on them. Keeps them from rusting. It doesn't last a long time, but if you don't have a place to put them, it will help out in the long run. Cleanliness, of course, on all your tools. The edges will last a lot longer if you keep your tools inside a shed or a barn. Store them edge up, if at all possible, instead of edge down. Because if you've got an edge down on the floor, if you've got a dirt floor or even a concrete floor, that moisture can get on your edge, and then you're going to have rust, which is going to dull your edge eventually. Now, sharpening pruners, these are bypass pruners. And like I said before, these are also we're still working on a single or chisel edge type device. Now, this is also called an anvil on these, but this works in a different way from the Gerber style. The Gerber style goes down into the anvil, where most of your bypass pruners, it's actually almost a scissor action. You have two flats engaging. One is sharp, one is flat, and that's where you're getting your cutting action. Now, one of the common mistakes people make on these is they sharpen the blade nice, but they never do anything about the anvil side. It has to be flat and clean. If you don't have a flat clean, it's going to affect the cutting edge. So on these, you want to put something in your vise, if you have one. You don't have to have one. Put something in your vise just to hold it in place. And since it is smaller, I probably wouldn't use my monster file anymore. I have this handy little... It's a set of diamond. It's a diamond stone. It's flat on one side, round on the other. You can get it at an online hardware store. It's just a rod coated with a little bit of diamond material. And you come in and same thing, working away from yourself as much as you can. And these are going to be a little bit harder because you're going to have to work. Now, another thing you can do is you can do what's called the circular motion, which is you do your whole edge in small circles. Once you achieve the edge you want, then you do the broad strokes to finalize and make the edge nice and smooth. Now that comes into play if you're using what's called a puck, which looks stone. It's a stone like this. This is a two-faced stone. It's rough on one side, smooth on the other. You have to use oil when you're using these or you will just disintegrate the stone. They make a puck, which looks just like a hockey puck. And it's same thing. It's smooth on one side and flat on the other. Obviously, with something this small, you couldn't use this, but this is good for shovels, hose, that kind of stuff. I showed it to you, but this is just a common mill file, nothing fancy. You can get these in all different sizes. If you got a bunch of small pruners, you can get these smaller. This is probably the fastest way to cut. We have diamond stones, and they're pretty much plastic boxes with crushed diamond embedded on a metal surface. With these, what's nice about these is, one thing, they're lightweight. They don't wear out, at least not for a long time. I've had these probably since the 80s. And the best thing about them, a couple drops of water is all you need for lubrication. You use them for a while, and then you're going to rinse them and clean them and keep going, because you will see the metal filings build up on these. They come in different colors, and the different colors mean different grades. Red is coarse, blue is fine, or it might be the other way around. You could go with just a little small Arkansas stone set, which even comes with its own honing oil. You got a coarse stone and a fine stone. Once again, with this, you're still kind of limited. This would work to do the smooth, but you'd have a little bit of trouble getting the coarse in there. So you're going to need to just have a few little smaller tools, that's all. All right, another type sharpening device that I think is phenomenal. And I'm not trying to be a spokesperson for any type, brand, or model. This just happened to be one of the first small ones that came out on the market. But this is a knife and tool sharpener. And it's got an adjustable head, so depending on your angle. And as you can see, I can get all the way in on this pruner, all the way to the edge. They're very simple to use. Once again, eye protection at a minimum. Hand gloves if you feel it's necessary for this, but you're not really too close to the edge. But you just come in, and as you can, I don't know if you can see really good there, but I pretty much just did 10 minutes worth of work that it would have took me on a stone. The best thing is you push down, twist, and you can change out your different belts, because it comes in coarse, fine, and extra fine. So this, if you have a lot of tools, or if you find yourself doing this often, will save you a lot of time and a lot of effort. And this can sharpen anything you've got. I sharpen my axes, all my bypass tools, my big loppers, my machetes, everything with this. It's so quick and easy. But with that being said, yes, this is a little belt sander, but it's kind of slow. We want to talk about these. These, or your bench type, they're too fast. If you try sharpening your tools on them, you're going to A, take off way too much metal too quick, and B, you have a tendency to overheat your item. Most of your tools are tempered, especially a good axe or a good garden tool has been tempered. If you heat that edge up, you take away the temper, and it's going to roll and it's going to get dull a lot quicker. So I highly suggest you stay away from the actual grinders. I would not even use a Dremel. If you got the variable and you used a light stone and you got it down to the lowest setting, you could probably get away with doing some smaller stuff, but you definitely want to keep it at the lowest setting possible, because that high speed is going to give you the high heat, and that's going to change the temper on your tools, which is definitely not a good thing. The last thing, the one thing that a lot of people forget about when it comes to garden tools, is the majority of them have wood handles. Now, this one's orange because my wife forgets where she puts it in the yard. So right now, I'm not really following my own protocol with keeping my tools in my shed, but at least I can find it when I need it. So, but the key to it is linseed, boiled linseed oil for your handles, because it's the one thing people forget about. And I know we've all got at least 2 or 3 hoe heads, 2 or 3 shovel heads laying in the yard because we broke the handle, and it probably got broke because it dried out. So boiled linseed oil, and I would do that probably once a month at least. Get a good rag, get it soak in really good and let it dry, and then wipe off the excess, and that'll make your handles last a lot longer. Now, that's not to say that fiberglass handles are the answer, because if you leave a fiberglass handle in the sun, it will start to get really powdery, and then the powder turns to flake, and then you're going to get splinters. So it's just as bad not to take care of those. On my fiberglass tools, I use a little bit of silicone just to keep them pliable. I don't know if it soaks in. I'm sure it does a little bit, because my tools don't flake like that. But with those, you definitely want to keep them out of the sun. Now, we talked about getting the basis for your edge on all your tools, and like I said, you can use the mill file, the stone, the belt sander, whatever you choose. Once you get that basis and you got a nice edge, after you've taken that back bevel off with something nice and smooth, you want to take something like this is ceramic stone. These come in all shapes and sizes. They make little diamond, little triangle shape, round shapes. But with this, you just want to do, it kind of smooths out your edge. You don't really even have to push it up. It's just more of a drag. And all I'm doing is I'm kind of smoothing my edge out a little bit. Now, it's really not super important, and a little bit of a serration on that edge helps it cut a little easier, but your edge will last a lot longer if you smooth it out. Because if I smooth it out, there's nothing to roll or pinch or catch. So you can do the same motion here. You can do this if you want. All I'm doing is taking that edge I've already built and smoothing it out. And with this, it doesn't matter which way you're going because you're not sharpening, you're just honing. You're just actually just polishing that edge. And then once I did that, you could run your finger along there and make sure you didn't push up any burrs. And if you did, you could just take your original tool and just notice I'm keeping it flat. Now we've talked a lot about the edges, and I talked briefly about the anvils on these. You want to keep these lubed. Like this one here has a metal spring. I want to put a drop of lube on that. I want to put a drop of lube where the scissor goes. You don't want to take them apart unless you have to. There are some that are designed to be taken apart all the time. But if they're not designed to be taken apart, every time you take them apart, you're wearing and tearing on those items. But back to this. If you look at this, it's got a slight bevel to it. It's a little bit of an angle this way, and that's what acts on that edge. You can see it as it comes across here. You can see it's just pushing against the flat. So all you're going to do with this is you're going to take your tool, whichever you're using, and keep it flat, and just you don't even have to press hard. All I'm doing is making sure there's nothing there, and then you're going to meet or marry, whichever you prefer to say, this angle here. Don't change this angle. Just follow it along and keep it same way there. And you want to keep that a nice flat. You want that come to a nice angle right there, because that, like I say, that is your cutting point. And a better way to look at it too is a scissor. If you look at a scissor, it's the same thing. You got a sharpened side and a flat side, and with regular scissors, it's just the two flats working together. So it's the same thing. It's same action. You want to keep that nice. If this had burrs on it, it's going to catch. It's going to drag. And on the same token, if the flat side was messed up, it wouldn't cut. So it's part of the process, and you'll get a nice smooth cut every time. If you'll notice when your scissors or your loppers are starting to get dull, you'll start to crush your plants. It won't be a clean cut, and then you got to go back. So definitely, if you start seeing that, give them a quick hone.